the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes. And of course, not alone in the studio, sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim, it's been a while.
It has been way too long.
It's been almost a full month. It was December 16th was the last episode of Tony's Takes. And here we are. We're back on YouTube live. And I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a happy new year. There's a couple house cleaning things we got to get to, but let me give you the rundown of what we're talking about right here on the greatest show in sports talk radio. First, we're going to talk about St. Joe's. That is where we're going to start the show, and it's going to be, I'd say, about 30 minutes of the show, maybe a little less, but you know how. For the loyal listeners of Tony's Takes, you know that when we get going about St. Joe's, I can go all day. Because this team sends me up and down a wall, and they have done that lately with a loss to Tennessee. Since we last spoke. A loss to Tennessee, a loss to Villanova, a loss to Rhode Island, losing to VCU, losing to St. Bonaventure just yesterday. Jim, do you hear a reoccurring theme with that?
Sounds like losing.
There's a lot of losing going on.
Yeah, a lot of losing.
And so it's brought out, the losing for St. Joe's has brought out an unsavory form of fandom on, I hate saying Twitter. Twitter's not real life, but I see a lot of people talking about the one guy. I never want to hear his name. He's like Voldemort. I don't want to hear his name. Phil Martelli. And I'm going to get into it. We're going to try to diagnose what's going wrong with St. Joe's. And then we're going to talk about why talking about Phil Martelli is not the answer. I'm seeing it way too often. People are talking about it so much that I am currently drafting a piece for A10talk.com, the place where I write, saying how, just laying out the lies that are spilled about the Phil Martelli era. It is just simply not true that it was all nice and easy when Phil was coach. No, that's not true. And we're going to dispel that myth right here on Tony's Takes. And we're waiting for people to kind of slowly climb in. If you're climbing in for the first time, welcome to the show. If you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe and hit the double click the notification bell. I know I'm a little rusty, Jim. We're a little rusty.
Yeah, we just got to kind of get back into the swing of things.
The Sixers are doing really well, Jim. That's for sure. And we'll talk about them in the game that's coming up at 7:30. We're going to dispel some more myths about them. Are they good or are they not good? They're exciting. That's for sure. And I think you could agree.
It's the most fun that I've had watching the Sixers in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's at least the last three to four. When they first got good, that was fun. And I put this in fun. But I don't know if I'd put this in great or good basketball just yet, but that's fine. It's early in the season. I don't want to get ahead of our skis. So we'll talk about them. The division for the Phillies looks really good. Those are like the miscellaneous topics for the end of the show. So that's the flavor of tonight's episode is Tony's Takes. And to start it all off, we're talking about Hawks basketball. And I just want to say this real quick as not breaking news, but as exciting news. The guys from the Gola Standard, yes, the very ones who called me out for my Ashley Howard take and my Tom Gola take, really my Tom Gola take, Tom Gola Arena take. We are doing a co-show together to preview the St. Joe's LaSalle game. We are going to settle some fights that I've had with the podcast, and it's going to be a good one. It will be recorded, I think, next weekend. We're going to try to get something going. Me and Jim got to figure out the logistics for everything, but that's going to be a really fun episode. The guys from the Gola Standard always, they're a hoot on Twitter. That's for sure.
Possibly a little trash talk.
No, there's definitely going to be trash talk before the game. This is, I was once on a podcast, a Villanova podcast. I was all by myself with 3 other Villanova guys in person. This was back when you could see people. I have never fought for my life like when I was on that podcast. I was defending St. Joe's tooth and nail, bringing up stats from 1956, whatever it took to defend myself against Villanova. And I think that the guys at the Gola Standard aren't ready for it. But then I think at the end of the day, maybe we can come together and hate on Villanova a little bit more. That's where we can come. That's where we can come together as fans, is the hatred towards Villanova. Okay, Jim, let's get into it. Speaking of Villanova, St. Joe's lost to Villanova way back when. That's old news. Old news when they lost to Tennessee. Old news when they lost to VCU. If you haven't been following me at a10talk.com, I recommend you do that way. If there's ever these gaps in the podcast, you can read what I have to say. But for St. Joe's, it really began to worry me when they lost to Rhode Island. They had that game in the bag. They were home, which clearly played to their benefit. This team needed to be home. They were on the road all throughout the non-conference schedule. So they're finally home. They're playing Rhode Island really hard. Fats Russell, who's an excellent guard, is being held to sub 20 points. He's only at 15 points with 5 minutes to go. If you're Billy Lang, you're looking at the scoreboard, you go, I'm holding Rhode Island's best player, a veteran senior guard, to such minimal points compared to what he did to us last year. The guy shows up against Philly schools because he's from Philadelphia. And if you're Billy Lang, you look at that and you go, I'm holding Fats Russell to minimum points, not too crazy, 14 points. You can live with someone's best scorer scoring 14 points. Just like when we played VCU the game before, St. Joe's did not allow Nashawn Highland to score at all. So St. Joe's, from VCU and Rhode Island, those two games, you look at St. Joe's, the defense is improving. We're holding the better players on A10 teams to less points. And then they look great when they're doing it. Taylor Funk is scoring. They don't have Ryan Daly. Demir Bishop is showing up. Ramir Moore and Cameron Brown. Those two are so under-talked, undervalued on this St. Joe's roster. It is unbelievable. Ramir Moore and Cameron Brown, they play hard. They get after it. They're the only two that can get to the rim who aren't named Ryan Daly on this team. Taylor Funk playing great defense, as I said before. And I want to highlight that Taylor Funk, I've been beating this drum all season long. Taylor Funk is finally setting screens and rolling to the rim, not feeding back to the three-point line, not coming back to set a second screen. No, Taylor Funk is setting a screen and rolling to the basket and getting interior points. The more he does that, the more it helps him open up his three-point shooting. He does have a three-point shooting ability, folks. And the more he rolls to the rim, the more he gets those easy baskets, the more he forces his opponent to respect the way he shoots the ball, the better that this St. Joe's team can be, the more dynamic they can be, and the more diverse in scoring and where they can score from, that can be improved when that happens. When you have guys like Daly and Funk, who's learning how to roll to the rim, and Ramir Moore and Cameron Brown, if all four of those guys can aggressively attack the rim consistently, it helps guys like Bishop, it helps guys like Forrest find easy threes. See, it was never about three-point shooting being the cure. That was never going to be the cure. That was the style. But the cure is getting easy baskets. And what helps you go over the top is shooting threes. That's how you separate yourself from an opponent. But sticking to games, playing against hard defenses, sometimes you got to learn how to score on the inside. That is how you diversify. That's how you make it easier for you to come up with a game plan and attack new and different opponents. If you're doing the same thing every week, why? Why if it doesn't work? Right? That's the definition of insanity, Jim.
Well, it's pretty obvious when you just have Ryan Daly being the only point scorer, the only person that you can see that actually looks competent on the court most of the time. That's like the only player that teams really have to worry about. That's what bothers me most of the time.
Eviction night goes always on the wrong account for the pod.
Yeah, wig splitter / eviction night.
And don't forget, and for those who weren't listening to the last episode of Tony's Takes, me and Jim have to sing a song for Eviction night. We're working on it, Eviction night. We're going to get a song together, and then you're going to hear the golden pipes of Tony and Jim. It's going to be a good one. Well, let's get back to St. Joe's. So they lose to Rhode Island. I didn't even bring this up. I'm just heated. So heated. They lose to Rhode Island on what is an ugly foul call. Miles Douglas fouls Fats Russell while he's shooting a three. Quote, shooting a three. I don't think he was really shooting a three. I think he touched him, and then Fats Russell did the classic throw your arms in the air so it looks like you're shooting. Okay, whatever. You touched him, Douglas Miles. Or is it Miles Douglas? No, it's Douglas Miles. Jim, search that real quick.
Oh, intern.
Intern's typing it up. I'm pretty confident it's Douglas Miles, but I don't want to be wrong. I could be confusing myself. This is what happens when people have both a first name for both their first and last name. Always throws me off.
I believe it's Miles Douglas.
It is Miles Douglas. I was saying Douglas Miles. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It's right. Miles Douglas, kind of a bench player, but he's found a new role at Billy Lang's offense this season, especially since Brian Daly's been out, which is fine. He plays well. It was unfortunate that he was the one who fouled Fats Russell. I don't blame the guy for the call. He touched him. The ref blew the whistle. Some could say, oh, the ref usually lets people play through it, but he didn't. And you got to live with it. And you got to, if you're Billy Lang, acknowledge I had a guy who was undisciplined out there. And that's on me. I'm the coach. And they lose to Rhode Island because of it. They were up 3. Rhode Island hits all 3 free throws because Fats Russell is a veteran and a professional almost. And they seal it up. It goes into overtime, and by then you knew St. Joe's was undermanned. They don't have the experience Rhode Island has, and they lost. Okay, that was the worst loss of the season.
Not the 26-point loss to St. Bonnie's?
No. I saw people saying that on Twitter. Some unnamed sources at certain major outlets in Philadelphia saying St. Bonaventure is the worst one. Ryan Daly wasn't on the court. Now, you could say Ryan Daly wasn't on the court for Rhode Island, but securing a win in the A-10 is important. Rhode Island is, I put them in my power rankings at A10Talk.com. They're top 6. That was a win against a top 6 team in the conference. St. Bonaventure's, okay, Rhode Island's 6th. St. Bonaventure's 4th. You got blown out by St. Bonnie's. That's what we expect of you. But when you have Rhode Island on the ropes and you give it away, that's when it's brutal. That's worse than Bonaventure doing what they were supposed to do.
So you're saying the Drexel loss is less important due to it being an out-of-conference game?
Yeah. The Drexel loss was a team that clearly has not played in a while, getting back on the court and getting those sea legs underneath them.
See, I don't know. The way that they've been playing now, ever since then, it doesn't really seem like they've ever gotten their legs back together.
Well, it doesn't help when Villanova and Tennessee are on the schedule.
Oh, yeah,
this
no
is
doubt.
the other thing, and I came out with an article at A10 Talk a month ago with this other point about St. Joe's. I get getting great teams on the schedule. I understand why you do it, and I encourage it. But maybe 5 of your 6 non-conference schedule games, they should not be with top 10 programs. And with a new offense, new schemes, and new players. A lot of new faces on the team. Maybe that's not where you do your soul searching. Maybe you do Villanova and you do Kansas. Or you do, I like Auburn. I'd rather see St. Joe's schedule Villanova, Auburn, and then a Seton Hall or a St. John's, or maybe not St. John's, but a Seton Hall or a Virginia Tech. Like a team that they're not as good as Tennessee. And it's not Kansas, Tennessee, Villanova, and instead it's Villanova and then 2 top 50 KenPom teams. That's where I see St. Joe's going, wow, that's a nice non-conference schedule. You're looking pretty good. You actually have a chance against some of these guys, and that's how you build confidence against great teams. Playing against Tennessee, who I think looks to be like the best team in college basketball, is not the way you do it. All 5 of those guys on Tennessee are 6'8" and above. They shoot so well. Their form is so good. They were better than Villanova. Tennessee is scarier than Villanova. And if you watch them, you'd see it. And you know it because if you watch St. Joe's, you could see the height difference between the 2 teams. You can see the skill difference. St. Joe's is almost like this non-biased litmus test where you can see players' heights and abilities against the same opponent twice. And what I saw what Tennessee did, they're scary. Villanova fans shouldn't think they're better than Tennessee. Tennessee is good. But back to my point. Scheduling is a little off this year, and it was something that we should learn for the future. The loss against Rhode Island, unfortunate. Unfortunate. It's the worst loss of the season. St. Bonaventure, they did what they were going to do. We were down a man. They did what they were going to do. VCU beat us. I think VCU is going to win the conference personally. And it stinks when St. Joe's fans like us are sitting around looking at LaSalle beat, not UMass, but they beat Dayton. And then they crush Fordham. If Fordham has a win this season, St. Joe's is the only team who isn't St. Louis, St. Louis is a different situation, who doesn't have a win in the conference. So I understand why people are worried about this St. Joe's team. But that doesn't mean you bring up Phil Martelli. Jim, that doesn't mean you bring up Phil Martelli.
That really gets under Tony's skin, everybody.
And here we go. Transitioning. Okay, folks. If you look on your screen, if you're live on YouTube, you will see that I have put up an image from basketballreference.com. I had the president of basketballreference.com on my show, Tony Stiggs. When we were back at student radio at St. Joe's, Radio 1851. Nice guy. So I got to give him credit. This is from his website. Jim, can you see the image? I just want to make sure you see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because I'm going to read along with the audience.
Go ahead.
I saw multiple people say, and let me actually quote, someone from A10talk.com, a fellow writer of mine, I'm not going to say his name. Actually, I'll say his name because, you know what, I got to give him credit, right? I can't just not say his name, so let me find his name for you. But this is what he wrote in the St. Joe's St. Bonaventure preview. His name's Jack Milko, writes for the site, fellow writer of mine. And I don't have no problem with him. This is what he wrote about Phil Martelli, and it just got under my skin. And then I saw other people from the Inquirer and former people who used to bang on that stupid drum at the game. For those who don't know, St. Joe's has this dumb drum that sits at the bottom of the student section. They bang it all the time, and it's annoying. It's the same people who are always complaining that the pep band's not at the game. That was another controversy. See, St. Joe's can't be the great program we want it to be, the way that Jill Bodensteiner and Billy Lang are trying to build it, when we got clowns who only care about the pep band. Oh, should we have a pep band or a DJ? This isn't a wedding. Make the decision. No one's at the games anyway to hear them play. And then we got people, the Phil Martelli era was so good. I saw that tweet after the not St. Bonaventure loss, but the Rhode Island loss. That sent, oh, I miss Phil. It's so questionable. That account, what's that one? What are we, the Hawk Hill Humor or whatever. They couldn't tweet at Phil Martelli fast enough. Oh, I miss you. Oh, we can't wait. We were so good. Folks, look at the screen. Look at the screen. Look at the SOS, if you can see it. I know it's a little fine print. Get your spectacles out. SOS, strength of schedule. Look from 2011 to 2019. Compare it to the top of the screen. I see a lot of 6s and 7s. Now, it's an arbitrary number. But when you compare it to other years, it doesn't matter if it's arbitrary. It gives you an ability to compare it to other years and to other teams, right? So it doesn't matter how it's compiled. You just know the higher it is, the better it is. I don't need to know that much about it other than the higher, the better. And if you look, the highest ever was 1996. Is at 7. Now scroll on down to the bottom of your screen. 2010, 3. 2011, 4. 4, 5, 2, 4, 3, 1, 1. Strength of schedule's going down. And so is the record when Phil Martelli's the coach. We have 2 good years in there, but if you look after 2005, there's a lot of white spaces in the notes section, which is where you would see where championships would be won. If I see 1 space, 2 white spaces, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 white spaces. 14 white spaces as the strength of schedule decreases after your Naismith Coach of the Year. And this is what we're complaining about? We're complaining about a coach who didn't do anything after 2004 other than 2 A-10 championships, and then we got bounced early in both those tournaments? We didn't make it to the Sweet 16. LaSalle has gone deeper than Phil Martelli ever did with the Southwest Philly floater, and that's why the guys at the Gola Standard are laughing at us all the time. All the time. We're the butt of every joke, Jim.
Yeah, we are.
Look at this.
And anybody that went to St. Joe's during the last, 6, 7, 8 years knows that there was always talk about Phil Martelli getting the boot.
Always. Boosters did not like him.
There were so many games I went to where random strangers were asking me as a student, oh, what do you think of Phil Martelli? I think it's time for him to go. It doesn't seem like things are working out anymore. And yeah, I was lucky enough to see the team go to 2 tournaments, NCAA tournaments, while I was there. But those were outliers. Everything else was like the norm. The
Sub 500 was the norm.
Yeah, the 14 and 19 season, the 16 and 16, 11 and 20. That was what was normal up until the 2013 and 2015
And if you look at the standard deviation of it all, it's the 500 record, right? You see it, 575. I guarantee you take the standard deviation of that, it's larger than you'd want it to be. It's probably outside 1.5 standard deviations. It is probably outside the normal distribution bell curve, and I think you have a bipolar curve.
Well, let's look at 2000 to 2009. That skews the curve all on its own. Just those 10 years or 9 years or whatever it is. Everything else you look at, that the average would probably end up being well under 500.
Right. And this is where you see the difference. Phil's coaching for I wouldn't say he's coaching for his life, but he's coaching really well. And he's saying, yeah, I'm the guy to stay. Look at my success. And then afterwards, it's like he rested on his laurels so much because he knew he wasn't going to get fired.
That's exactly what happened. And everybody said that during the games. All the boosters, the adults that showed up to the games, not the actual college students, but people that were outside looking in, they all said the same thing. And you know what? The students said the same thing too. So
and he cared about the school so much he cried when he got fired. Not cried in the real sense of like he was complaining, always complaining, and his daughters can't stop trashing St. Joe's all the time. It's unbelievable.
Listen, I like...
He's like the ghost of Christmas past roaming in my back of my mind.
I liked Phil as a person, though.
See, Jim, this is...
But no,
this is the problem.
I know. No, as a coach, it's a different. You have to separate the two. I liked Phil, but not as a basketball coach for the St. Joe's Hawks. I can say both of those things. At
I
the
know,
same
and
time.
this is the problem. People can't think. They just go, "Oh, you just don't like him." No, I expect not perfection. I expect greatness. You Coach Martelli flashed greatness at us. He gave us what we always wanted and what this school had obtained prior to him. See, that's the other thing. Why isn't everyone crying about Dr. Jack Ramsey, who was a more successful coach, who went to the Final Four? I'm sorry. Did we stop thinking about the history then? If you want to talk about history, let's talk about the fact that this school has a long and good tradition of winning. We don't have just one winning coach. The basketball hall was named after Dr. Jack Ramsey for a reason. The guy won an NBA title. And he went to the Final Four for St. Joe's. We've had other great coaches, and we moved on from them. Why are we bringing up people who we had to move on from? We recognized when they left. We said thank you to them. Why are we bringing it up? Why was it a questionable firing? And I want to bring it back to the quote written in A10talk.com. This was it. Quite frankly, St. Joe's has not been the same since Coach Phil Martelli, who was questionably asked to leave the program almost 2 years ago. And that's where I have my problem. The word questionably. It wasn't questionable. I just gave you the answer. It was needed and it was mandated that this school get better and win. And it's easy if you like St. Bonaventure to say all that because St. Joe's with Phil Martelli was like 5-19 against St. Bonaventure. So I guess it's questionable if you want to keep winning against St. Joe's.
Yeah, it depends what your goal is.
Depends what your goal is. How many times do I have to turn on the television and watch basketball? The line is set at 4.5 for amount of times Phil Martelli's mentioned. How are we going to move on if we keep talking about it? I'm looking forward. I'm looking at what can we do to be great? Who do we need to recruit? Who do we have here? What makes the team better? That's what I write about. When I write about St. Joe's, I don't think about the past. I don't go, let's look at the last 20 years. This is how St. Joe's has done. Never have you read one of my articles, folks, and seen me sobbing or sulking about the past, saying this team's not as good as it was 10 years ago. Because what good does that do us? It does us no good. It does nothing for this program. It's just loser think. Losers think about the past like that and sulk on it. Winners look at the past like we're doing right now, folks. The smart people of Tony's Takes looking at it and going, I'm looking at the past and I'm seeing that it wasn't as great as what people are telling me. How do we make it better? What can we learn? How do we make our strength of schedule better? Because I just read that out loud. That's a little learning fact. That was a good thing to look back at the past for. Hey, we had a really bad strength of schedule. Hey, thanks. Thank you, Billy Lang and Jill Bodensteiner. You saw that was a problem. You looked at the data. You looked at the history, and you go, you know what? This program needs a better schedule. And they got it. They accomplished that. Check that off as a movement in the right direction. Okay, the team's not playing great right now. Sorry, Ryan Daly has a broken thumb. Rumors are going around that Greg Foster Jr. doesn't really like it at St. Joe's that much, which I can't control. He's a student. He's allowed to think whatever he wants. And if he doesn't like St. Joe's, okay. I know how it is as a student athlete. It's hard. It's not easy. But don't say that progress isn't being made. It is.
See, Tony, I think the thing that people are thinking with the whole Phil Martelli leaving, being asked to step down and everything, I think that the reason why they go to questioning that decision is because they think we could be 2-6 or 3-5 right now.
Let's say 3-5 because Drexel, URI, Auburn.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think that they think that for some reason being 3-5 would be better than being 0-8 right now, and I don't really think that there's a major difference in having those 3 wins. I think the team is still who the team is. I think they're going to figure out how to play together and actually look like a competent college basketball team again. But this is where the program needed to be refreshed and restarted. And when things get stale, that's what you do. You change things up, and you change the one variable that's been constant the entire time, and that was Phil. It's time to take the St. Joe's Hawks into the next generation and evolve. That's the whole point of life, really, is just to keep moving forward. So,
and we've already done it. Those people can complain all they want, but he's not coming back.
What do you? Yeah, you're gonna throw a contract over to him? He's several states away. I don't think that's happening.
And it's just like, oh yes, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he is a nice guy. I've talked to him, met him. He was great. He was perfectly nice.
Hey, he congratulated us when we won our championship. He came up to our whole team, gave us a big speech and everything. I mean, tremendous.
Told us this is what champions do. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, I'm not. Once again, but this is the problem when folks want to use dishonest arguments about the school program. Right? You can't have honest conversation about performance if everything is you don't like him or you're being mean. I'm being honest. What here has been anything of a character attack. None of it's been a character attack. I could easily do a character attack, but I'm not going to because I could complain and go, he spun his way out of every media question. He never answered any questions, blah, 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 blah. But no, I'm not going to say that because Phil answered questions. He always did X, Y, or Z. And I mean, I'm not gonna say anything about what I've learned from being around him, or I wasn't even around him that much, but just from what I've heard and what I've experienced, because me and Jim were in the Hagan Arena all the time. And I'm not saying I'm an insider. I'm not an insider. Not anyone who has any connection to any of this. I just know that it's so easy to get emotional and do all these emotional attacks on people. It was the stats. It's the stats. If you're going to attack Billy Lang with emotion, like in these unfair, unrealistic arguments, that's my problem. That's where it's all coming back to. Stop attacking Billy Lang just because you think the good times happened 20 years ago. Right? That's the problem. It's okay to come out and say, this team's not doing it right. Maybe we got to change our adjustments. What's our strategy? What are we doing? X, Y, Z. What can we do to the future? Good. That's constructive. Yes, let's talk about that. How do we do it? How do we get better? But to say they were better 20 years ago, that was such a mistake, that's not doing us any good. And I guess that's why I'm fired up. I want to do well, and we can only control what's in front of us. And that's where I'll put it. That's where I'll wrap it up.
I mean, let's just go back to 5 years ago,
What was 5 years ago?
We were 11-20.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to move on.
I mean, I don't even... It's not... Once again, it's not Coach Martelli's fault. He's not the one tweeting about St. Joe. He's moved on. Why is St. Joe's and Hog Hill immobilized by the thought of it? I don't know. I really think fans were scarred, and people are polarized on this issue. It's quite concerning. I hope St. Joe's fans can come together a little bit better.
Well, what are we moving on to? Speaking of moving on.
We're moving on to the fact that St. Joe's plays Albany.
Oh, yeah. So that's coming up this weekend. That was kind of just out of nowhere announced. What was it? Yesterday? Today? I think it was maybe today that it was announced.
Today. It was this morning.
Yeah. So basically, my opinion on this is that we need a win. Obviously,
This is an easy win.
This is where I think we're going to get it. Albany's 1-4. They played Vermont twice. They played Niagara. Who else did they play? That was at least 3 of their games that I remember. But anyway, they have 2 quote unquote stars, Antonio Rizzuto and CJ Kelly. But I wouldn't count them out completely just because they seem pretty disciplined from what I was looking at with their stats, and they play like a team basketball more than anything. I saw like 4 or 5 guys scoring over 10 points every game that they've played, and pretty much all of their losses were 5 to 7 points at most. So they play close games. So I expect like a good battle with them, and hopefully in this the second half we can kind of come away with the last 5 minutes. Put a run on them.
Yeah, this is where St. Joe's needs to win.
Definitely.
This is where fans of St. Joe's get. If you don't win, yeah, let's complain. Okay, I'm willing to say that is a must-win. We'll be constructive. We'll be critical. If they don't, okay, understood. But back to my point. Don't go. It was better 5 years ago. What good is that doing us now? How are we going to improve? I guess that's just. Man, I'm just so. It's just not the way to think when you want to construct something that wins. Jim, I'm like immobilized. I'm like frozen in the studio. And for those just tuning in to Tony's Takes, welcome to the show. It's a hot one here in the studio. We've been talking about St. Joe's, and we're going to move on to the 76ers. But if you're here for the first time, please make sure to subscribe and double-click the notification bell while you are here on YouTube. If you're not listening to us on YouTube, you're probably listening to us on the Apple Podcast. Hey, welcome. Leave a 5-star review. We read all 5-star Apple reviews on the show. So if you leave a 5-star review and write one, you got to write one, folks. I can't read what you don't write. We read it on the show.
We got a comment here from Evan Guerin. It says, how do you guys feel about the COLAS system? So that's the grading system for the NCAA cross-country championships. I think maybe we can dive into that next week.
Yeah, I need to do more research on that one. I'll give you this take, Evan. They should have ran cross-country this year.
Agreed.
I don't think there was an excuse not to run it, but that's an unpopular take. So let's give the people what they want, 76ers. Jim, what are your thoughts? 76ers playing well, and they're starting against the Nets soon.
So my first comment I have here is the number 1 team in the NBA.
It's the Philadelphia 76ers.
By record, you can't argue it.
No, that is correct.
You can't argue the record. I really enjoy this team. Obviously, Morey has done more for this team in 2 days than Elton did in 2 years, and maybe that was because Brett Brown had more control than Elton. Who knows? But it's just so much fun watching this team, and I have people texting me that they just know that I'm passionate about the Sixers, so they're texting me like, "Oh my God, this team is awesome to watch! I can't believe it!" There's an excitement in the air that kind of feels like Philadelphia Eagles 2017, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the buzz from it.
We're gonna talk about football, and I'm gonna give my rankings on football. But that's interesting that you bring that point up because I think the Bills have that kind of energy right now.
Ooh.
The Buffalo Bills have like major Philadelphia Eagles 2017 energy. And I like how you're saying that about the 76ers. It's like they're playing loose. They're fun. I mean, the ball movement is just so much better. The chemistry is clearly improved. And I don't think that's because Al Horford was a locker room problem. Al Horford is a professional. He's a great guy. That's going to be said a lot today. We're surrounded by great guys. We have to say it when we criticize someone.
Everybody's a great guy.
You're great. But he is a great guy. I just think the basketball fit wasn't there, and when you don't win, it takes a toll on chemistry. They're winning, and now things are great.
I have to own up to something. The last 3 games, Danny Green has had 15, 13, and 13 points. I got to say, I'm sorry, Danny Green. I said you weren't a good trade just because of your skill, but you know what?
I have been vindicated.
It's been good work to see. I hope he keeps it up and actually does it in the playoffs. That's still my concern with that trade. But at the same time, we unloaded that Horford contract. And, God, I mean, it's just there's nobody on this team that I want traded.
Breaking news, Jim. And to the fans of Tony's Takes, I was right and Jim was wrong. This is breaking news. It happens often on this show. I am usually right and Jim is usually wrong, especially about 6'6" shooting guards. Those are my expertise. I know them very well. From Ryan Daly to Danny Green, I know what's right and Jim knows what's absolutely wrong. Now back to the program.
Oh God, yeah. Wait,
You shouldn't have said
you were so
that.
right about those Giants too, right?
I was so breaking news. I was wrong about the Giants. I like how you admitted it. It takes a bigger man to
I
admit,
had to.
Jim.
I wasn't even prompted.
No, I did not know Jim was going to say that.
Yeah, and back to the Sixers though. They've had a pretty easy schedule so far. However, I do think that this is going to be like such a good team, even with that soft schedule. Like I think when they play. We had the Nets tonight, which I thought was going to be better if Durant was with Kyrie. But then we play the Nuggets coming up, and first off, Jokic is playing ungodly. I mean, he looks like an MVP right now.
Yeah.
I mean-
While the Mavs have slid.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, continue. I don't mean to change in teams.
Well,
or
I mean,
anything.
Nikola Jokic has, I think it was 14 or 24 points and 13 and 13 is what he's averaging, or something crazy.
Really good.
So it's exciting for these next two games. We'll play Kyrie tonight, and I think that we'll take the Nets pretty easily tonight. We should, especially without KD, and then the Nuggets are going to be a tougher game. Yep.
So do you think the
See what happens
strength
there.
of schedule is an issue for this team? I have friend of the show, Tyler, listen, sometimes he's in the chat, was texting me the other day, and he was saying how he's worried that the strength of schedule is not that good. We're kind of lulling ourselves into a false sense of security. And he's always not pessimistic, but he's always skeptical about like Philadelphia teams in general. Like the Eagles last year, give him credit. He was always saying this team's not that great. This team's not that great. And then they just like did not play well. I think there is room to be skeptical on the Sixers team. I think there is room to be concerned. Yeah, the schedule's not that tough. Let me read it off to you folks. The schedule of the 76ers and who they've played over the last, since the beginning of the season, the Wizards, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Raptors, the Magic, and this is in order. The Magic, the Hornets, the Wizards, and then they play the Nets tonight, but the Nets don't even have their best player. Tonight was going to be the litmus test for me as a fan, especially since, the game, people are kind of getting into the feng shui of everything. We're, 7-8 games in now, and now they're going to play a really good team. This is where you show, hey, we're a real team. We're going to be above 500 against the best in the league. And now they don't. I feel like we got to wait another week and a half to see them really go up against a tough opponent.
Yeah, I would say that. And what I'd say to Tyler is let's just see what this next month brings. Really, once we get through January, we'll really have a good idea because, like I said, we have that Nuggets game 2 days from now. And then we have back-to-back Heat games, which is a neat thing this year, by the way.
I like the back. It's like baseball.
Yeah, teams can kind of just stay. Like the Heat are just going to stay in Philly for 3 days or whatever, instead of having to come back and forth. And then we have the Grizzlies right after that, and then Horford's Horford in OKC against us. You have the Celtics back-to-back again. So I think that the end of this month with the Lakers and the Pacers, I think that you're going to have a good idea of really whether this team's legit or not.
Yeah. The test is coming. We're going to know. Very shortly, we're going to know.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's fair to be skeptical over what we've seen so far. I mean, when you beat the Knicks by 11, and then, who would have thought that the Magic would be as good as they are this year? But, we were the first team to actually knock them down to size. I think they started 4-0 or something.
Yeah, we're the ones who gave them the first loss, I believe.
And we came back against the Raptors. We didn't look good in that game. That Raptors game, we looked pretty soft in the first half. And then
the Wizards the other night, I mean, they couldn't stop Beal.
He is incredible. He's been one of my favorite players to watch.
Is he playing his way out of that city?
No, I don't. Well, his contract is so expensive.
Someone would take it up. But I'm saying, is he playing so well that they're forced to trade him almost?
Oh, maybe.
Because he's wasting away. I don't want to say wasting away. He's been very loyal. He's like the poster child of what all NBA fans want. This guy just likes Washington. He does a lot of great work around Washington.
They shouldn't be 2-6, to be honest. They've had a really rough start.
Yeah, they played the Sixers twice.
Yeah.
And if the Sixers are beating up on the Wizards, who have two great players, I'm not crowning the 76ers. I'm not saying they're great, but they're going to be a top 3 team, 4 team in the not the NBA, but in the East. They're a top 3 team in the East, from what I've seen.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have teams that start off this hot that just kind of fizzle out and don't finish in the top 4. This is a legit team.
Yeah, and the bench play has been great. Now, you don't know what you're getting every night. It is a little hot and cold with the 76ers bench. But Shake Milton, his scoring is pretty consistent this year. He shot 5 for 5 last night. Furkan Korkmaz, why hasn't he played? Do you know?
He's been injured.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I think he has really improved his three-point shooting. You don't need to be a genius to know that. That's just, you watch 5 Sixers games, you go, wow, Furkan Korkmaz, his shooting's really improved. You don't have to really look at it that much to understand, yeah, this guy's pretty good. And he's going to be a good bench player for this team. And then Danny Green has been everything we wanted him to be. He didn't need to be a world beater, he needed to be good. And Seth Curry has been the explosion on offense. It's like we have the model of 2 great players and then 5 really good support casts.
Well, how about Doc Rivers just pulling out the defibrillator and putting it on Tobias Harris?
And he's awoken. Yeah, no, Tobias is a new person.
Eastern Conference Player of the Week. When was the last time we had somebody not Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid?
Jimmy Butler.
Oh, right. But I mean, he's gone. He's not on this team.
Right, I know what you mean.
You know, there's who is out of the supporting cast other than Butler that's gone now.
I bet Seth Curry could get it.
Oh, what? If he keeps shooting the way he did last night.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
now we have Tobias who gets it one week. We have the potential for it to happen again, which is like an awesome feeling. And Tobias is a hot and cold player, but he was really good for the Clippers. Maybe Doc knows how to coach this guy. Maybe he knows his best spots on the floor.
They're using him in a different way. Like it just seemed that Brett didn't know how to work with these guys, how to set them up to be successful. And Doc he knows Tobias. Yeah,
yeah.
He's with all those years together.
And Joel's in the paint all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like him and Ben are fighting for space down there that much. Sometimes there's a couple pick and rolls with Ben and Tobias, and they're both crashing to the net at the same time. It's kind of ugly, especially when it's like the two of them are like doing an off-ball cut. But other than that, everything else looks pretty decent from a flow perspective. So I am hesitantly optimistic about this team, and I think fans should just sit back and enjoy every Sixers game.
Yeah, and
there's no reason not to have fun.
We have a little bit of breaking news for the Sixers game tonight. We have Kyrie Irving is now out of the game.
Yes.
And Seth Curry.
Oh, okay.
This happened in the last hour that Seth Curry.
Look, this Nets team can still beat you.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on them, especially if we're missing a guy like Seth Curry, who's, he's an important scorer on this team.
Well, you just got to expect Shake to step up, and
he's going to have to.
And Matisse, and
and Maxey. Let's talk about Maxey. My gosh, this guy can get to the rim.
Do you love the floater?
Yeah, we never really had. I wish Ben Simmons had a floater.
Yeah, well,
like Chris Paul has the best floater.
Ben is just he's so tall and long that he doesn't even really need
his
it,
layups go clanking off the backboard all the time.
Yeah,
it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is, especially when you see somebody that's like so efficient as he is. It's tough. It's tough to watch that.
But Maxey, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's just fun to watch.
He's very loose for a rookie. You don't really see him tense up that much. He seems to really enjoy playing the game.
And the rumors about him were true. He was undervalued in the draft. Just from what I'm seeing, he's clearly he's reminding me a lot of he's on the Nets now. He used to be on our team. We traded him to the Clippers for Tobias Harris. Why am I blanking?
Wichita State.
Yes. Ben Golliver came on our show way back in the day, and he said you guys were fools for trading him.
Shamet.
Landry Shamet. Maxey is like a Landry Shamet find. They're not the same player. Different players. Late round draft pick. Maxey was a freshman, though. He wasn't a senior, if I'm correct on that one, Jim. From Kentucky, when he came from Kentucky.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah.
I think he's 19 right now.
But he's just like a nice... This is what the kind of drafting I want wanted the Sixers to have. Like, this is what great teams do. They find really nice role players or just like professionals. Like, you find a guy who can score 14 points a night in this league off of 8 shots. You have a place in this league on any team. And they found that in Maxey. So I'm really excited about him.
Speaking of drafts, I want to bring this up real quick. Markelle Fultz out with a season-ending ACL injury.
That was a shame.
Yeah, poor guy can't.
He was coming back.
I know.
And he signed that contract.
So at least he's got some money coming his way. But
that's the one good thing. He's definitely set for life on the money. That won't be a worry for him. He got into his second contract. That's all you can add. Look, for these guys, it's more than the money. There's money that is important to a player, but you get one shot in your life to be an NBA player, and you're a 1 in a million talent. And it stinks. I hate to see it.
Yeah, the passion and ambition are crucial to these guys.
Yeah, 100%. Any other NBA news before we go to our Eagles in football? Because I'm just going to let you roll through to the Eagles speak.
Yeah, no, I don't have any other.
We're going to close out the show with NFL.
No other NBA news. You want me to go right into Eagles?
Go for it. Go. Let's talk about it. The
All
final play.
Yeah, you know that there has to be.
And can I say this real quick? I don't want to hear. I'm just letting the fans know. I don't want to hear Giants fans complaining.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the end of the season because everybody's complaining about this, and I think that this is nonsense. The media can cry and moan about Doug Peterson putting Nate Sudfeld in, but of course we were tanking the game. Who in their right minds would want to win that game and then be a 9th pick when they could have been 6th? Of course we didn't want to win, and to say that we did it in the most crucial game of the season, it doesn't make any sense. The Jaguars, the Jets, and the Bengals do it all season, and then they give Doug Peterson crap. It's just straight BS. One game does not decide the season, right? There's 15 other games that the Cowboys and Giants played this year where they could have proved themselves for the playoffs. So there's no one to blame but themselves for being 6-10. So it's just nonsense, and we weren't making the playoffs. So why have Miles Sanders play? I don't care if he was hurt, or Deshaun Jackson. If these players were actually hurt, then good that they sat out. But if they weren't hurt and they sat out anyway, then also good, because why sacrifice the health of the top players that are going to come back next year? These are guys that we have contracts for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why put them in harm's way? It just doesn't make any sense at all, and. This season was a wash, of course, and I'm glad that we're going to be the 6th pick. Maybe we'll even trade up. Who knows? But I hope that they don't squander this pick away and then get a wide receiver when we need a cornerback or an offensive lineman.
Yeah, do not draft skill player positions. Don't do it.
So let's put the dirt on the Eagles' casket for the 2020 season, and let's move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this was just a dumpster fire.
So I'm going to say this about the game, Jim. And why I said Giants fans, I really, quite frankly, don't care what you have to say, is because the point you made. It was on you to win games. And if you're scoreboard watching, I don't want to hear it, because if the Eagles went and won, Washington fans would be saying the same thing. So the Eagles are supposed to give up their advantageous position of getting a better draft pick because you want to make the playoffs? I don't get it. I don't get where you're just acknowledge what you're doing. You like your team, which is fine, and you're upset they didn't make the playoffs. Okay, well, why don't you say be better, be a better player? If you're the coach of the Giants, say, if I was out of them, I'd say that's no excuse. We were not a good enough team to make the playoffs, and if we're waiting for a 4-6 Eagles team, or I'm sorry, a 4-11-1 Eagles team to win us games on the road for them, then we aren't that great. You don't deserve a playoff spot. Don't complain. It'd be one thing if you were in contention for the wild card after you've been fighting with the Eagles in Washington, and the Eagles took it easy because they had a playoff game coming up, and Washington was out of the playoff picture, but you needed Washington to lose for some weird reason for you to make I don't know. But this is just, you're waiting to get into the playoffs because you couldn't beat Washington twice? I just don't know.
I got a fun little story for Tony's takes, all right? So we hadn't been on here in a while, but the Eagles, they lost to Dallas. And I had a Dallas fan all excited that they were going to go to the playoffs. They're like, we're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go to the playoffs. It's like, all we need is Washington to lose next week. And for some reason, they thought that Washington was playing Arizona in Week 17. And then I had to be the bearer of bad news as an Eagles fan and say, you guys aren't going to go to the playoffs. The Eagles have no shot of winning that game against Washington. And even if they did, they're going to tank that game. There's no chance that the Eagles win that game against Washington in Week 17. They'd be idiots to do it. And this person was like, I believe in the Eagles. I think they're going to do it. I was like, no, man, I'm sorry. I can't. I hate to break it to you, but it's just not going to happen. And I kind of loved bursting that Cowboys bubble. especially losing.
Felt
in Week
good, right
17,
in the heart.
And then they lost to the Giants anyway, so it didn't matter.
That
but-
makes the heart go pitter patter.
Oh yeah, just a little flutter.
I'm gonna read the chat. We haven't really read the chat. It hasn't been too active tonight, but that's fine. I've been ranting so much, it's crazy. Evan Guerin goes, "This is absolutely a perfect trap game for Philly." He's talking about the 76ers tonight, which I agree. It could be a trap game. He also goes, "I DM'd Shamit when we traded him, telling him I appreciate him and would miss him." You're really using those pronouns. And then he says they're going to draft a soccer player. He's talking about the Eagles. Stephen Brown. Say his name, Jim.
Brownell.
Brownell. Trade the 6th pick. Trade the 6th back and get some bodies. We need way too much. And Jammers 0902. That is Jimmy. LMAO. The opening kicking spot. Ev. Yeah. The chat's always open, folks.
Draft a soccer player for the kicking spot. That's
I
open.
think we should get that girl from Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah.
Just to embarrass Jake Elliott a little bit
Well,
more.
he doesn't even exist anymore.
Pack your bags, Jake Elliott. You're out of here. Let's keep talking about. Doesn't that sound great? Let's keep talking.
Tony, let's talk about our picks.
Sound like an amateur, Jim.
Let's talk about our picks, Tony.
The picks. Okay, so the picks ended with a tie, folks. For those who did not know, me and Jim have been picking games all season long. I went 13-11-1. Jim went 13-11-1. We had a tie in there, yes. I think the most appropriate... Now, Jim, you can chime in. I think the most appropriate thing is one game. We pick the spread. That's it. No over, under. I mean, no over, under. Just the spread.
Just the spread.
Just the spread. Either because if we pick outright winners... Oh, how are we going to do this? What if we pick the same spread?
Ooh.
Okay. What we're going to do is this.
We'll guess the person closest to the total. If we'll guess the total score, person closest to it.
Okay, that will be the tiebreaker
Yeah.
if there is one.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, because my other option was going to be we come in here, we flip a coin. Heads has to take the over-under line. Tails has to guess the spread.
Then we could both still be wrong. And then,
I know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
There's like no definitive thing. It's
Let's just guess the final total as the tiebreak.
okay.
The person closest wins. If it,
What happens if that hits?
we'll get there when
Pro
we
Bowl?
get there. Pro Bowl.
Yes. Go
So we're doing it for the Super Bowl though.
Super Bowl.
Okay, we'll end our.
How about I would throw it off? We're going to do it for the college football playoff instead. Really throw it off. Okay, that's fine with me. I'm going to do our power rankings real quick. We're really rolling out the show. We're going to close out the show real quick. Okay, my last power rankings were from December 16th. And they went like this. Chiefs, Packers, Bills, Steelers, Saints. That was from 2016. I'll repeat it again. Chiefs, Packers, Bills, Steelers, Saints. Tony's rankings for 1/7/2021, the glorious year of 2021, goes like this. Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Saints, Steelers. So I'll say that again. Chiefs number 1. Bills are number 2. Packers are number 3. Saints are number 4. Steelers are number 5. I think the Chiefs, the reason why I have the Chiefs at number 1 is this. They are the returning champions. They have the best record. They haven't been as hot, but I got to give them number 1. They have the best quarterback in the playoffs right now. They are a threat. They have a coaching staff that is really good. I'm going to respect the Super Bowl defense and the overall number 1 seed. I'm putting them there. The Packers are 3rd. I put the Packers 3rd. Yes, they're the best team in the NFC, I believe. However, I don't think they're better than the Bills. The Bills look really good. They stomped everyone the last 3 weeks. They look really good, and I think they're just having fun. They're loose, and they remind me so much of the Eagles in 2017. I can't not put them at 2nd. The Saints are at 4. Again, this is a team that's kind of a quiet threat to win. I think they're the team that's least talked about as a threat to win the Super Bowl, and yet they could be the deadliest for all we know because the NFC is it's just so equal compared. The AFC has a hierarchy of teams, clear winners and losers. The NFC is pretty hit the mic. Pretty egalitarian in the fact that everyone's pretty even across the board. Except for I don't know. I think Washington could upset Tampa Bay.
I did too.
So it's like the NFC is just a toss-up, it feels like. And the Saints are the team that no one's talking about. Everyone's focused on the Packers, but the Saints, could easily just cut their way right to the Super Bowl. And 5, Steelers. They beat the Browns, they didn't beat the Browns. They almost beat the Browns, who are a playoff team, with a backup quarterback. That's a well-rounded team. I got to respect them.
I don't think that there's any chance the Steelers lose in the first round. I think
they're going to crush them.
Yeah.
Jim, do you want to give me... I don't know. What do you want to do?
You want to just roll through some picks for the playoffs real quick?
Just do the first round?
Yeah, just do the first round.
Okay, we'll alternate.
Okay.
So you'll do a series, I'll do a series. So
Okay.
I'll start. You have to pick Tennessee, who's 4 seed, or Baltimore, 5 seed.
I'm taking Tennessee.
Okay. So can you write that down?
Yeah, I'll write it down.
So Jim's taking Tennessee. Okay. So then I'm going to do the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. Pittsburgh's 3rd ranked seed. Cleveland is a 6th ranked seed. I'm going Pittsburgh. I think it's pretty evident that this team's coming together. Mike Tomlin's been there before. They are an experienced team. Congratulations to the Cleveland Browns. You finally made it to the playoffs. Don't take your shoes off. You're not going to be here for a while.
So you want me doing Buffalo versus
Correct.
Indianapolis? Oof.
Another sneaky game.
Yeah,
but
is
it's
sneaky.
in Buffalo, so that would really be my
I know. I think
deciding factor.
the Bills are crazy hot, but Indianapolis, man, they can turn it on sometimes. I am going to go with the Bills, especially with the home field advantage. I don't think that's going to help Indianapolis that much.
Nope, I don't think it is either. Okay, so then I will do Washington, Tampa Bay, NFC team. This is the 4 seed playing the 5 seed. Washington is the 4. Tampa Bay is the 5. I'm going to take Washington just because it will add to the chaos surrounding Tom Brady. Like that, Tom Brady. Let me take back the word like. Tom Brady does not need to win another Super Bowl for the rest of his career. It has been decided on how great he is. It would just be funny to see all those talking heads go online and their heads would explode if Washington won. And I think everyone kind of knows, Washington, they could get to the quarterback pretty easily.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's line isn't that great, and Washington has the best front 4. And I don't know, maybe the only other team maybe is like the Rams, or the only other team that really gets to the quarterback.
Shout out to Ronald Darby being 8th ranked cornerback playing for Washington, former Eagle.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it wasn't like that for us, but
Nope. Okay.
all right, Seattle versus LA.
That is correct. Give
So
them the seeds.
They split this year. They went 1-1.
Seattle's the 3.
Seattle's the 3, and LA is the 6. So they're going to be playing in Seattle. They split both games this year. So the Rams won when they were at home, and the Seahawks won when they were at home. So it is going to be a close game. It's a division game, and I think that the Rams are actually going to take this one from Seattle in the playoffs. I think that Seattle's a little bit. They're a little. They go to the playoffs too much, and I'd like to see the Rams knock them down.
I just want to apologize to listener Tony's takes. We actually, I don't know if it paused or anything. I accidentally hit exit out on the YouTube thing, but I think we're still live, so we're fine. Okay, so Jim, you're going with the say it again.
I'm going with the Rams over
okay.
over the Seahawks. Yeah.
I respect that pick. I think it's a toss-up. Seattle doesn't really have a great defense, and these are division opponents.
Division games are awesome to watch in the playoffs.
Yep, and you never know. You never know with them. Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. New Orleans versus Chicago. Yeah, you're already putting New Orleans down. Chicago's a train wreck, and it's like Chicago making the playoffs almost like if the Eagles had made the playoffs. It's just like how.
Tony, I'm still on the Chicago train.
Okay, well, I got the game to pick, so
Yeah, I know.
that's how that one goes.
I just, you gave me all this crap about Chicago, and look, here they are in the playoffs still.
Yeah, my Giants are not. Totally forgot about that embarrassment. Can we talk about this MLB trade real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
The New York Mets acquired Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. Did I say that correctly?
Carrasco, yeah.
From Cleveland, from the Cleveland Indians in a blockbuster deal. The division that the Phillies are in is in a arms race, a literal arms race. It will be the best division in baseball, and I worry because we are now the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
Like, it is pretty clear that the Phillies are the worst team in the division. The Mets just got a lot better, and we're just sitting on our thumb.
Well, I'm hoping with our hires that that maybe the Phillies can start making some moves, but they need to start making some moves now because spring training's like a few weeks away.
It's in March, I thought.
Yeah, that's only like
I know, we're already in February, folks.
that's like we're only like I think we're only like 7 weeks away from spring training or something like that.
7 weeks. Slow the spread of spring training.
Yeah.
Phew, I mean, that was just a wake-up call. Can't believe the year's gone that fast. How good is this guy? Should I really be worried? I don't know that much about them.
What, Francisco Lindor? He's very good.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Great.
good.
I mean, Cleveland was a good team, so...
Yes, Francisco Lindor is very good. I mean, the Phillies were thinking about acquiring him, but we just don't need his position, so... and Carlos Carrasco is, another very... I mean, I played with Carlos Carrasco on MLB The Show and struck out everybody, dude.
I thought you were going to say you played with him, like in Little League.
No. I did play with Zach Allen, though.
Shout out to Eric Franklin in the chat goes, this is what I've been waiting for. Go Phils! We've gone to a game with Eric Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin, I'm actually a little upset you didn't do the Aaron Nola Go versus the regular Go. The GEAUX Go.
Like, who's the quarterback for, Joe Burrow?
Oh, yeah.
When they do the Burrow at the whatever, the phonetics of Creole, I guess it is. Any other topics about the Phils, Jim, to give the fans, or we're good?
Yeah, I had one fan of the show asking me earlier about the idea of Aaron Nola's brother joining the Phillies. He's a catcher. I think that would be a pretty neat combo. You have to...
Do you think they could tell each other what pitch to throw without giving a sign? Telepathy? Could we leverage telepathy to win games?
I don't think they're twins. I think his brother's a little bit older than him, but maybe.
His brother's older than him and he's just getting into the league?
No, he's not just getting into the league. Sorry, he's already on teams and stuff. Okay. It was just the idea of acquiring him.
Kind of like the Giannis move where they hired Giannis's brother on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes.
Kind of just like, hey, you're welcome.
Yeah, Austin Nola's 31. He could totally replace JT Realmuto. Same age.
And we haven't heard anything about JT.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Dude, this all outside of the Sixers right now, because Daryl Morey showed up to fix the ship as it was going the wrong direction. Every other organization in Philadelphia is just spiraling out of control. It feels like the Phils went from this team with a great hitting lineup to we don't even know if not half the roster, but some of the key roster components are going to come back. And then the Eagles are in dismay, and I don't know what the Philadelphia Union are doing.
The Flyers have made all sorts of signings this year. So
the Flyers were good last year. Who knows, but they're not really important. So that's how that one goes.
That's too bad. Just an update before we go. Sixers are down 7 to the Nets.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone turn on your television. Support the Sixers.
Tune in.
Also, don't forget, next week we will be recording our episode with the Gola Standard, the LaSalle guys, to talk about St. Joe's LaSalle. And it will be up. This episode will probably be up only on Apple Podcasts. I might work to get it on YouTube, but we'll see. Keep that on your schedule. Follow us at Tonys_takes. You see it across that beautiful ticker as it moves across your screen. Follow us at Tonys_takes. That way you get updates on when that show is going to happen. Email the mailbag. No one has emailed the mailbag lately. Email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Send us your takes. Let us know what you think. And then finally, subscribe to us on YouTube. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Jim, thanks for coming in. I know it's been a little hiatus, but glad you were able to make it.
Thanks for having me, Tony. I loved it.
It was a pleasure. And to all those listening to Tony's Takes, we really do appreciate it. We look forward to seeing everyone right here on Tony's Takes on YouTube next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you then.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.